Void Miner, Seed of Change, Part 6, Chapter 25, Paths Converging. The ridgeline opened before them like the edge of the world. They had walked through fog and frost all morning, following the whisper of the wind down the narrowing path. Then, without warning, the trail curved around a crag of dark stone and the clouds parted. Below stretched Stonebrook Valley, alive. Kaelric stopped where the ledge widened. The others gathered behind him. The valley floor shimmered with light, thin and blue, moving like rivers through the soil. The Arkyn veins glowed brighter than he'd ever seen, threading between hills and cliffs, converging where the village sat at their heart. From this distance, Stonebrook looked half unreal. Its rooftops glinted like hammered glass, its forge smoke replaced by faint wisps of light, and at the valley's southern lip, cut into the slope like a scar, sat the hangar. Even from here, Kaelric could see the faint pulse emanating from within it, steady, rhythmic, alive. Risa whistled low. "By the stone and flame, look at her!" "The widow," Kaelric murmured. Tovin's gaze softened. "Your father's craft?" He nodded. "Aye. Built for the belt, forged in vacuum and war. But she's more than that now." Grass grunted, squinting into the light. "Skyborn home bright. Too bright." Crick shaded his eyes with a thin hand. "Stone sing loud now. We'll not sleep again." Risa crossed her arms. "Aye, and that'll make folks uneasy. Elves will think the gods woke, dwarves thinking the mountains coughing up omens. Either way, they'll look to blame something." Tovin nodded grimly. "Or someone." Their eyes all turned to Kaelric. He didn't flinch. "Then let them look. We're going back." Risa didn't move. Her voice dropped lower, heavy with warning. "You do remember what folks down there think of greenskins, eh? Dwarves still tell their youngins that the orcs drink forge oil and goblins steal silverware. You walk through that gate with them beside you, you'll not be greeted with songs." Kaelric's gaze stayed fixed on the valley. "Then we'll teach them a new song." Grass gave a short, humorless laugh, a sound that rumbled more like threat than mirth. "Your kin sees tusks. They reach for blades," he said in rough common. "We walk close behind you, Scarborn. You keep them from dying, or we leave." Cricks hissed in skitter speak, the words sharp and fast. Kaelric caught their meaning without translation. He does not lie. Tovin's tone softened, but held concern. "Stonebrook may breach peace, but its comfort was built on keeping danger outside its walls. You bring the outside home, you break that comfort. There will be fear." Kaelric nodded. "Then fear can listen. The Heartforged didn't wake for one race. If it called all of us, that's the truth. I'll bring them." Risa sighed, shaking her head. "You've got the world's weight on your back, boy. Just remember, no matter how bright the forge burns, there's always someone waiting to throw water on it." The wind changed, warm this time, carrying the scent of rain and the iron tang of burning Arkyn. The hammer at Kaelric's belt vibrated softly against his hip. He crouched, touching it to the ground. The hum ran through the stone immediately, alive, directional. It pulsed outward, down the slope, through the rock and into the valley below. The rhythm matched the widow's lights perfectly. 3 beats, pause, 3 beats. Risa stepped closer. "What are you doing, lad?" "Listening," Kaelric said. The vibration deepened. He could feel it now. More than hear it, a resonance through his chest that wasn't entirely his own. The ground seemed to breathe under him, the same rhythm he'd once felt in the forge chamber. Tovin whispered, "It's calling through you again." Kaelric shook his head slowly. No, it's answering. Down below, inside the hangar, Arg and Kara felt it too. The widow's hull flared brighter, every seam of her body alive with blue-white fire. Iona's voice cut through the hum. External resonance amplification detected. Directional vector, Northridge. Source harmonic matches. Subject Kaelric Arston. Arg looked up from the console, eyes wide. He's linking again. Kara placed a hand against the wall. The metal beneath her palm thrummed like a living pulse. He's guiding it this time. Iona added dryly. Correction, guiding me. Suggesting the boy knows more about harmonic regulation than you ever did, Arg. Arg huffed a laugh. You're welcome to teach him sarcasm when he gets home. Already planning lessons, Iona replied. On the ridge, Kaelric stood as the hum faded to a calm whisper. The others looked at him warily. Risa tilted her head. So, what did the stone say? He smiled faintly. That it's waiting. For what? For us. Tovin's expression grew distant, reverent. The forge below, the ship above, and the mountain between, all harmonized. The old song spoke of a time when the world itself could listen. Perhaps we're hearing the first verse. Risa grunted. Let's just hope it's not the last. They began their descent. The trail wound through the cliffs and switchbacks, steep but familiar. The air grew warmer as they went, charged with energy that tingled against the skin. Birds circled overhead, their cries distant, almost melodic. Even the stone beneath their boots seemed softer somehow, less hostile. Kaelric carried the hammer loosely in one hand, its light pulsing with every step. Risa kept glancing toward it. You sure that thing won't bring the whole mountain down on our heads? He chuckled. If it wanted to, it would have done it already. Comforting thought. Tovin smiled faintly. The Arkyn's temper has always matched its keeper's. I trust the boy's steadier than he looks. Risa gave him a sideways look. You're just saying that so he won't turn you into light dust. Perhaps. By late afternoon, the valley was clearer, the trees distinct, the river glimmering with faint blue reflections. Kaelric stopped at a high overlook where the path narrowed to a cliff edge. From here, they could see all of Stonebrook's expanse, the forges, the fields, the shining veins that wound like roots towards the hangar. He felt the pulse through his feet again, faint but steady. For the first time, the rhythm didn't feel foreign. It felt like breathing. Risa came to a stand beside him. Beautiful, ain't it? He nodded. More than I remembered. She gave a small smile. You'll have to remind me sometimes what home feels like. He looked at her. You'll see soon enough. Down in the valley, Arg and Kara had taken to the widow's hull again. Kara scrubbed soot from a panel while Arg adjusted the intake clamps. Iona's hum filled the air like music, faintly off-key, but alive. Kara glanced toward the mountains, where faint silhouettes moved along the ridges. He's close. Arg followed her gaze. The sun hung low, casting the entire range in amber light. The widow's glow mirrored it, brighter now than ever. He's almost home, Arg said. Kara nodded slowly. Then so is the world. Night on the ridge came slow and heavy. The mountains that had once loomed as jagged silhouettes softened under the moonlight, their edges dissolving into mist. The storm that had stalked them for days was finally gone, leaving only the rhythmic pulse beneath the stone, a heartbeat too deep to be wind or thunder. Kaelric sat apart from the fire, back against a cold slab of granite, hammer resting across his knees. Its surface reflected the firelight, but carried its own faint glow, softer and steadier than before. Each flicker rose and fell in sync with the same 3-beat pattern that echoed faintly through the ground. He had stopped trying to understand it. Now he simply listened. Every pulse came as a breath drawn by something far greater than any one being. It was not the forge, nor the widow, nor even the world itself. It was all of them together. He closed his eyes. The sound wrapped around him like warmth, like memory. And behind that hum, he could almost hear the faintest echo of his father's voice, steady, calm, carrying that familiar weight of stubborn hope. Risa's voice broke the stillness. "You ever think about what they'll say when you get back, lad?" Kaelric opened his eyes. She was sitting on the other side of the fire, boots off, staring at the sparks rising into the night. "Aye," he said quietly, "but not enough to stop me." She chuckled, low and tired. "Figures. Your father'd say the same. Man's the only one I ever saw curse at a forge like he could answer him back." "He still does," Kaelric said. "That doesn't surprise me." She leaned back, folding her arms behind her head. "The folk down there, they'll look at you like a storm walking through the square. You ready for that?" He hesitated. "I don't think anyone's ever been ready for being seen like they don't belong." Tovin, who had been quietly writing symbols in the dirt near the fire, looked up. "Then you've already learned the hardest lesson of all, Kaelric Arston. Belonging isn't given. It's built." Crix was half asleep beside Grask, curled into a blanket of rough hide. The goblin muttered in skitter speak, words quick and uneven. Kaelric didn't recognize most of them, but one phrase stood out. "Fire keeps us, light guide." He smiled. "You've got your own prayers too, eh?" Crix blinked, startled to be understood. "Skyborn here?" "A bit," Kaelric admitted. "Enough." Grask rumbled something low in Urkthrall, a few short syllables that Kaelric didn't fully grasp, but the tone felt approving. Risa glanced up from the fire. "Now if you start speaking Dwarvish, I'm leaving." He grinned faintly. "Not yet." "Good. There's only room for one stubborn tongue in this camp." As the laughter faded, the world seemed to exhale. The fire's crackle softened, the wind died, and for a heartbeat, the mountain fell utterly silent. Then the hum came again, deeper now, resonating through the stone like a pulse through flesh. Kaelric felt it in his chest before he heard it with his ears. The hammer's light responded instantly, blooming brighter, bathing the camp in blue-white glow. The others stirred, Risa sitting upright, Tovin closing his eyes in silent awe. Grask and Crix glancing at one another as the vibration rose through their bones. Kaelric stood, lifting the hammer high. The light from its surface spread outward across the ground, tracing faint lines through the cracks in the stone until they disappeared into the cliffs below. Tovin whispered, "It's speaking again." Kaelric nodded. "Not to me, to them." "Who?" He gestured down the mountain. "My father, my mother, the widow. All of them are part of this now." The glow intensified, then steadied into calm radiance. Risa shielded her eyes. "If it gets any brighter, you'll be drawing the moon jealous." Kaelric laughed softly, lowering the hammer. "Then let her be jealous. The world's waited long enough to shine." Far below, the Dust Widow's sensors caught the surge immediately. Iona's voice cut through the hangar's quiet. "Arg, Kara, external resonance spike detected. Frequency match, Kaelric Arston. Power stable. Suggest maintaining current core output to prevent overload." Arg leaned over the console, eyes narrowing. "He's giving back what the mountain gave him." Kara stood beside him, watching the readings climb. "Or sharing it." Iona replied, "Symbiosis would be the more accurate term."
"Big word for a ship."
"I've been upgrading my vocabulary during downtime."
Arg cracked a grin. "Now I know he's your influence."
Compliment noted, Iona said dryly. The hangar lights pulsed once, perfectly matching the rhythm of the mountain above. Kara placed a hand on the bulkhead. He's found balance, Arg. He's holding both the seed's gift and this world's heart without breaking either. Arg's voice came low, quiet.
Then maybe the boy's finally what the seed was meant to make.
Back on the ridge, the glow began to fade. The hammer cooled in Kaelric's hands, leaving only warmth behind. Tovin's voice was hushed, reverent. The forge and the sky have found their echo in you. Kaelric sheathed the hammer. Maybe. Or maybe I just learned to listen. Risa yawned, lying back again. Well, you can listen all you want in the morning. I need sleep before we face the whole village of folk with opinions. Kaelric smiled. Fair enough. The group settled down. The air hummed softly for a time, then fell still. Only the faint sound of wind against the stone and the gentle rhythm beneath the ground remained, an echo of the valley below. Kaelric lay awake a little longer, watching the stars move slowly overhead. The constellations here were different from the ones his parents used to name, but one cluster, low over the horizon, still carried a faint familiarity. The 3 points his father once spoke of from the belt's inner passage, a route long gone silent since the widow's landing. He whispered into the dark, We're coming home. The hammer pulsed once in his hand. At dawn, the sky bloomed silver and rose. Kaelric rose with it, stretching sore muscles, feeling the day's warmth against his skin. The air smelled of rain and metal. Below, the valley shimmered in morning light. The widow's hull gleamed like a promise. He turned to the others as they stirred. We'll move soon. There's still a climb before we reach the pass. Risa groaned. Aye, and I thought the downhill meant easy. Not yet, Kaelric said with a grin, but it's close. Tovin gave a small smile. So it always is before the next trial. Kaelric nodded, tightening the strap on his satchel. Then let's make the most of the climb. They broke camp and began down the trail, 5 silhouettes against a rising sun, following the hum of the world toward whatever waited next. Far below, the widow's lights shimmered once more, answering their every step. Chapter 26. The Apex Relay. The dawn broke soft and cold over the ridge, the first light spilling down into the valley like molten glass. From where they camped, the rooftops of Stonebrook glimmered faintly, and the smoke rose from a few chimneys, thin threads that bent with the wind. Kaelric watched it for a long while before anyone spoke. The hammer rested across his knees. Its glow dim but steady, the pulse inside it as even as his heartbeat. Risa came up beside him, pulling her cloak tight against the morning chill. There she is, she said softly. Stonebrook. Home? Kaelric nodded, though the word didn't feel right in his chest. Aye. Grask stretched behind them, the chain at his belt clinking. We go down now? You said home waits. That was the plan, Kaelric said, rising to his feet. We'll make the pass by midday if the path holds. Crix made a face. Down good, down warm. Risa smirked. Aye, you little frost rat. Let's be off before I freeze solid. She turned to shoulder her pack, and that was when the sound came. A low tremor rippled through the ground, faint but distinct. The hammer stirred in Kaelric's hand, its light swelling once, then again. Tovin paused mid-motion, eyes narrowing. That tone, it's not coming from the valley. Kaelric felt it too. The hum wasn't guiding downward. It resonated from the north, high above the ridges, where the mountains knifed into the clouds. Risa frowned. Don't tell me it's changing its mind now. Kaelric crouched, pressing his palm to the rock. The vibration ran under his skin like a pulse turned sideways, deep, insistent, calling. He glanced upward toward the distant peaks.
It's not changing its mind, he said quietly. It's showing us where the current ends.
The current? Tovin asked.
The Arkyn flow. It's heading there.
Grask grunted.
Stone call up, not down. Fools climb.
Maybe, Kaelric said. But if the forge woke the world, that's where it finishes. Whatever's up there, it wants to be found.
Risa groaned.
And here I was thinking the worst was behind us.
Kaelric smiled faintly.
And that was yesterday.
By the time the sun rose fully, they had turned from the valley path and started climbing north. The new route was rough, narrow switchbacks clinging to cliff faces, cut long ago by dwarves who'd once mined the upper ridges before the old wars sealed them off. Snow lingered in the shadows, untouched even by the Arkyn's heat. Yet here and there, veins of blue light cut through the frost, glowing faintly beneath the ice like trapped lightning. Risa stopped to run her gloved hand across one.
This isn't natural frost, she said. It's Arkyn cold, the kind that burns.
Tovin knelt beside her, studying the shimmer. Fascinating. A reversal of phase resonance. The energy's solidified here. Frozen light. Crick sniffed the air.
Smells wrong. Too clean.
Grask growled low.
Mountain hiding something.
Kaelric stepped closer to the vein, watching how the glow pulsed faintly in time with his heartbeat.
It's not hiding, he said. It's waiting.
By midday, they reached a plateau, a shelf of black rock overlooking a drop so sheer the clouds seemed to fall into it. At the center stood a pillar of ice taller than any tree, translucent and veined with faint blue light. Inside it, something darker glimmered. Straight edges, angles too perfect for nature. Risa stared.
By the forge! What in the stone's name is that?
Tovin's voice came hushed, reverent.
An obelisk.
A crystal structure. No, not crystal.
Arkyn condensed beyond form.
The apex relay.
The what?
Risa asked. The point where all Arkyn flows converge, Tovin said, stepping closer. If the hot forge is the heart of this world, this is its voice. Kaelric circled the column slowly. The hammer began to hum louder, brighter, the rhythm accelerating until the air itself vibrated with it. The air cracked faintly where he walked. He glanced at the others.
Step back.
Risa's hand went to her belt.
You're not touching that thing barehanded.
He touched it anyway. The hammer melted the ice with a sound that wasn't sound at all, more like a chord struck across the bones of the mountain. The glow surged through the pillar, racing upward in a spiral of light. For an instant, the sky itself seemed to breathe. Blue fire lanced through the clouds, connecting heaven and stone. The entire peak shuddered as the light spread in concentric rings across the horizon, lighting the far valleys like dawn seen from above. Grask shielded his eyes with a roar.
Sky falling.
Tovin shouted over the wind. No! It's awakening! Risa braced herself, snow whipping around her boots.
Awakening what?
Kaelric stood unmoving, the hammer blazing white-hot in his hands. Through the radiance, he could see shapes moving within the pillar. Lines, gears, conduits of light intersecting and realigning like the ribs of a living machine. The hum deepened to a single steady tone that filled the air and the ground alike. When it broke, the silence that followed was complete. The ice was gone. In its place stood the apex relay, a tower of pure Arkyn stone, its surface etched with runes so ancient even Tovin didn't recognize them. The light within it pulsed in calm rhythm, spreading warmth through the freezing air. Risa exhaled slowly.
If that's what's been sleeping under the mountains, no wonder the world was holding its breath.
Kaelric looked up at the relay, his reflection rippling across its luminous surface.
It's not just under the mountain, he said softly. It's part of it, part of everything.
Tovin nodded. The forge below, the veins through the stone, and this above. The trinity of Arkyn. You've found the crown of the world, Kaelric. He said nothing, only stared into the pulsing light. Deep inside, something resonated. A connection stretching from the heart forge to the widow, threading through him like a single unbroken breath. When the light finally steadied, none of them spoke. The air still shimmered from the heat of its passing, every breath edged with the taste of metal. Snow had melted to steam around their boots, leaving bare rock slick with condensation. Above them, the clouds drifted in a slow spiral, drawn into the rhythm of the pulse that now throbbed through the relay's core. Kaelric lowered the hammer. The glow within it had dulled to a faint inner fire, as if exhausted by the effort. His arms trembled. Even breathing felt heavy. Risa broke the silence first.
Tell me that was the worst of it?
Tovin stepped closer to the tower, his movements reverent. Worse. Risa, that may have been the most magnificent thing I've ever seen.
Magnificent, aye. But I'll take a nice safe forge that doesn't try to boil the air next time.
Grask snorted approval.
Dwarf right. Mountain roar loud enough to wake ancestors.
Crix peered at the smooth surface, eyes wide.
Skyborn make Skyborn. Skyborn crazy.
Kaelric managed a weak grin.
Probably.
He rested a hand against the relay. The stone was warm, alive, and beneath that warmth came a rhythm that matched the hammer's own. Each beat felt like a response, a wordless yes. Tovin traced one of the glowing sigils with a gloved finger. Look here. These channels, they're harmonic regulators, not inscriptions. They're meant to synchronize the Arkyn flow between the deep veins and the sky currents. Risa frowned.
You're telling me the mountain's got pipes that sing?
In a sense, yes. She gave a low whistle.
Well, that'd make this the world's biggest forge bellows, wouldn't it?
Not far off, Kaelric said quietly. He could feel the pattern now, the way the energy streamed downward through unseen conduits.
The heart forge started it. This keeps it breathing.
Risa blinked.
Keeps what breathing?
The world. They all turned to him.
It's not just energy, he went on. It's life. Everything we've seen. The veins, the forge, the widow. They're all pieces of the same body. The relay's the bridge between them. The Arkyn's voice.
Tovin's face lit with sudden understanding. Then when it fell silent after the old wars,
the world started dying,
Kaelric finished. No one answered. The wind was gone. Even the snow seemed to listen. A faint crackle rippled the air. Lines of light began to crawl outward from the relay's base, threading across the plateau like veins spreading beneath glass. They reached the cliffs and vanished over the edge, descending toward the unseen valleys below. Kaelric stared at the glow spread further than sight, the same pulse repeating again and again in time with the hammer's faint vibration. Risa whispered,
It's linking the whole bloody world together.
Tovin nodded slowly. Not linking. Reawakening. The Arkyn is returning to balance. Grask tilted his head, listening to the deep hum rolling through the ground.
Stone heartbeat strong now.
Aye, Risa said softly. Stronger than any I felt.
The wind rose again, but it wasn't cold. It carried warmth from the valley, a breeze that smelled of new rain and forge heat. Far below, faint streaks of light chased one another through the forests, the Arkyn veins answering their summit. Kaelric felt the resonance build through his chest. The hammer grew warm again. Its pulse matched the relay's rhythm. He could almost hear words inside the vibration. Not speech, but meaning. Connected. Whole. Awake. Tovin looked to him. Can you feel where it leads? Kaelric nodded.
Everywhere.
Risa let out a long breath.
Well, lad, you've gone and switched the world on again. Hope you've a plan for keeping it running.
Kaelric smiled faintly.
One step at a time.
Good.
Next step, we eat. I'm not facing another miracle on an empty stomach.
That broke the tension. Grask chuckled. Crix's laugh came out like a series of quick clicks. Even Tovin allowed himself a small grin. Kaelric turned once more to the tower, hand brushing its surface.
Rest now, he murmured. We'll keep the rhythm steady.
The pulse eased, dropping to a gentler tempo, a living heartbeat quieting after exertion. Below them, in the distant valley, a faint shimmer spread outward through the clouds, light reflecting off the widow's hull as she responded to the relay's activation. For the first time in 15 years, the hum from her core reached the open air, rising through the mountains like a sigh. Kara looked up from the hangar entrance, wiping soot from her hands.
Ark, she said, do you hear that?
He paused his work and listened. The air itself seemed alive with a low thrum, steady and familiar.
I do, he said softly. And I think I know who's to thank for it.
Iona's voice drifted from the console, warm and sardonic.
Signal confirmed. Source Northridge Harmonic Nexus. Designation Apex Relay.
Ark smiled faintly.
He's found another piece of the puzzle.
Correction, Iona said. He has become the puzzle.
Kara laughed.
That sounds about right.
Back atop the mountain, Kaelric felt the echo of their voices through the hum, though no sound reached him. The connection ran deeper than air. It was in the stone itself. He turned to the others.
It's done.
Tovin inclined his head. For now?
Aye, Risa said. World's awake again, and we're standing on its crown. That's more than most can claim in a lifetime.
Kaelric looked up at the slowly turning sky. The relays glow, casting pale fire over their faces.
Then let's make the climb worth something.
They began gathering their gear, the hum of the mountain following them as they turned toward the narrowing path leading down from the summit. Behind them, the apex relay burned steady as a second sun. Chapter 27. The Alignment. The mountain didn't rest long. By the time they had packed their gear and started down the narrow trail, the hum beneath their feet began to shift again. Faster, uneven. What had been a slow heartbeat became a racing pulse. Risa froze mid-step.
Tell me that's just me knees rattling.
Tovin shook his head. No, the harmonic frequency's climbing too quickly. Kaelric turned back toward the summit. The apex relay still glowed against the gray sky, but its light had changed. No longer steady, now flickering like a forge flame with too much air. He felt the hammer pulse sharply at his side.
It's not stable, he said. Not stable? You woke the whole world, lad. What'd you expect? A quiet nap after?
Tovin had already crouched, pressing one hand to the rock. The resonance is out of phase. The forge below and the relay above aren't synchronized. If it continues, the energy will fracture.
Fracture?
Kaelric asked. The Arkyn veins will rupture. The world could burn from the inside out. Risa paled.
Then we fix it. Fast.
They scrambled back up the slope, wind cutting sharp lines across their faces. The higher they climbed, the louder the hum grew. No longer a tone, but a roar. A deep rolling thunder that shook the snow loose from the cliffs. Kaelric could feel it through his bones, an ache behind his eyes. The hammer burned in his grip. When they reached the plateau again, the sight waiting for them nearly stole his breath. The apex relay was splitting. Cracks spidered up its surface, glowing white-hot. Light leaked from the seams in the wild, unstable arcs that seared the air. Risa shielded her face.
By the forge, it's tearing itself apart.
Kaelric planted his feet, lifting the hammer.
No, it's trying to balance. It just needs direction. Tovin turned to him, shouting over the storm of sound. Then give it one! You woke it! Kaelric closed his eyes. The hammer's hum resonated through his chest. Chaotic, but familiar. Beneath the noise, he found a rhythm. Faint, fragile. The same pattern that had guided him since the Heartforge. He spoke without opening his eyes. We can't do this alone. We need all of us. Risa glanced around. What do you mean, all of us? Each of us holds a piece of this world, Kaelric said. You, the forge. Tovin, the harmonics. Grask, the strength that anchors it. Crix, the spark that carries it through the dark. Together we can align it if we work as one. Risa muttered, No pressure then. Tovin moved first. He spread his arms, palm open toward the relay, and began to chant in Aeltherian, the ancient tongue of his people. The words were melodic, each syllable rising and falling with the hum of the mountain. Blue light flared between his hands, forming a thin barrier of shimmering air. Harmonic containment field initiated, he shouted. Risa pulled a piece of chalk from her satchel and began carving dwarven runes into the rock at the relay's base. Sparks flew with each strike, the symbols glowing orange-red as they formed a grounding ring. That'll hold the excess flow if you keep it steady. I'll try, Tovin called back, voice straining. Grask lumbered forward, bracing himself against the tower's lower edge. The light seared his forearms, but he didn't flinch. Stone strong, he grunted. Stone hold. Crick started up the side of the structure, nimble as a shadow, and wedged himself into a narrow crevice. He pulled a handful of twisted metal scraps from his pouch, pieces scavenged from the tunnels below, and jammed them into the glowing seams. Each piece caught the light, redirecting it like a mirror. The arc steadied, though the hum grew louder still. Kaelric stood at the center of it all, hammer raised. The air around him rippled with power. He could feel each of them, Risa's steady rhythm through the stone, Tovin's song weaving through the air, Grask's unyielding strength, Crix's quick precision, all separate beats merging into one. The hammer answered with light. He swung it downward, striking the ground at the relay's base. The sound wasn't a crash, but a pulse, a single note that rippled outward, meeting the storm and bending it to its rhythm. The relay shuddered. The cracks began to seal, molten light hardening into perfect seams once more. Kaelric's voice carried over the roar. Hold it! Don't break the rhythm! Risa's runes blazed brighter. You think I'm letting go now? You're dafter than you look. Tovin's chant grew louder, harmonizing with the hammer's pulse. Steady, steady, balance the flow! Grask's roar joined the rhythm, deep and resonant, a sound that felt older than words. Crix hissed something sharp and rhythmic in skitterspeak. Not a word, but a rhythm of clicks and snaps that echoed the hammer's beats. And through it all, the mountain answered. The storm of light reached its peak, and then broke. A wave of blue energy rushed outward, blinding for an instant, before fading to a soft, even glow. The air turned still. The cracks were gone. The apex relay pulsed in perfect harmony with the heartbeat of the world. Kaelric staggered, catching himself on the hammer's haft. Risa hurried to his side. You did it, lad. He shook his head, looking at the others. We did. Tovin smiled faintly, exhausted but awed. For the first time in an age, the Arkyn sings in harmony again. Grask leaned on his knees, breathing hard. Stone sleeps now. Good. Crix dropped lightly to the ground, tail flickering. Skyward stop world from burning. Not bad. Risa chuckled, patting the goblin's shoulder. Aye, not bad at all. Kaelric looked up at the tower. The light within it had settled into a deep, calm glow, the same color as the veins that now pulsed across every mountain and valley they could see.
The Arkyn network was alive, breathing evenly once more. He raised the hammer in quiet salute. Rest easy, old world. You're whole again. Tovin's voice was soft beside him. For now, Kaelric nodded. For now. The wind carried the hum down the mountain, toward Stonebrook and beyond. A song of balance, of unity, of life returning to the bones of Aelthera. Chapter 28. The Language of Flame. The mountain slept again, but its dreaming filled the air. Soft warmth rolled down from the apex relay like a breath of a forge banked for the night. Snow hissed where it touched the stones. The wind had lost its edge. After the chaos of alignment, the silence felt impossible. A stillness so deep that every heartbeat seemed borrowed. Kaelric stood at the base of the tower, the hammer's glow now a faint ember in his hand. The light that had once roared through the veins of Aelthera settled into quiet rhythm, slow and even. He could feel it through his boots, as if the world itself had remembered how to breathe. Risa dropped into a nearby slab, tugging off one glove. If I never see another mountain light up like a forge, I'll count myself blessed. Grask rumbled from his place against the boulder. Dwarf soft. Risa shot him a glare. Say that again, Tusk, and I'll use you for a bellows. Crix barked laughter, quick and metallic. Soft bellows make funny sound. Tovin smiled faintly. Peace, friends. The mountain rests. We should too. Kaelric listened to them, or tried to. Their voices blurred against a low hum that hadn't stopped since the relay sealed. It wasn't noise exactly. It was a vibration that lived beneath thought. The same tone that had followed him since childhood, whispering through dreams he could never quite recall. Now it was clear as breath. He crouched, laying a palm flat to the ground. The warmth that answered wasn't heat. It was language. It came in pulses, like syllables struck from light. He didn't understand the words, but he felt their meaning. Steady, grateful, alive. When he looked up, the others were watching him. Something wrong? Risa asked. He shook his head slowly. No, just listening. To what? Tovin asked. The world. They exchanged uncertain glances. Tovin knelt beside him. You mean the Arkyn's hum? Kaelric nodded. It's not just sound anymore. It's speaking. Or maybe I'm only now hearing it. The elf studied him, awe creeping into his features. The harmonics, they've aligned through you. You were resonating with it. Kaelric almost smiled. Resonating. His father had used that word once, long ago, while explaining the marks neither of them could see. Someday, your blood will hear what others can't. When that happens, son, listen before you speak. Ark's voice drifted through the memory, rough as coal dust, and Kaelric's chest tightened. He had always wondered what the man meant. Now he knew. Risa sighed, rubbing at her temples. Well, whatever it's saying, I hope it's thanking us. My arms feel like they've been through a grinder. Doubt the mountain cares much for manners, Grask grunted. Then it can keep its gratitude, she muttered. I'm going to sleep on my feet. Crix chattered something low in skitterspeak, too fast to catch. A string of clicking tones, teasing. The sound slid across Kaelric's senses, and before he could stop himself, he replied softly, the same rhythm on his tongue. Crix froze mid-gesture. Skyborn speak true? Kaelric blinked. I think so. Risa frowned. What did he say? Crix answered for him, eyes wide. He answered in my words. Tovin rose slowly, wonder dawning on his face. You understood him? Kaelric nodded, uncertain.
Not the words, the meaning. It's like the sound carries what the heart wants it to say, and I can feel it, the elf whispered.
By the 3 faces, the Arkyn's voice made flesh.
Risa squinted. That's a mighty poetic way of saying he's hearing voices.
Kaelric chuckled under his breath.
Maybe both.
Grask spoke next, deep and guttural in Urkthal.
Skyborn strange, talk like stone.
The tones vibrated through Kaelric's ribs, and he answered, halting but clear.
Stone listens.
The orc's eyes widened. Then he laughed, booming and delighted.
Ha! Stone does listen. Skyborn not weak after all.
Risa stared between them.
Anyone else feeling like the last one to catch the joke?
Kaelric smiled faintly.
He said the mountain listens when we do. Did he now? She muttered. Smart mountain.
Tovin turned toward the relay, light from its surface playing across his face. The old songs speak of this, a time when fire itself spoke and the world answered in kind. They called it the language of flame. Kaelric's gaze followed the pulse up the tower.
Then maybe it's remembering.
The elf looked at him curiously. And you, Kaelric Arston? What do you remember? He hesitated.
Stories my father told, about trials no one else believed in, about a voice that tests, then teaches.
He met Tovin's eyes.
He said if I ever heard it for myself, I'd know why he feared it.
Tovin's expression softened. Do you fear it? Kaelric looked toward the glowing horizon.
Not anymore.
Risa groaned as she stood.
Aye, well, talk all you like. I'm freezing. Let's move before me beard frost solid.
Grask hefted his pack.
Dwarf complain more than goblin, and has no beard.
Crix clicked a retort, and Risa muttered something colorful about both of them. Kaelric only smiled, understanding every word now. The insults, the laughter, the wary affection hiding beneath it all. The world was still speaking, and for the first time, he could truly listen. The path down from the relay plateau carved like a vein through the snow-blackened stone. Each step they took hummed faintly, as though the mountain were whispering beneath the crust of frost. No one spoke for a while. Even Risa's usual muttering had gone still. Kaelric walked ahead, the hammer resting loosely at his side. Light bled from it in slow pulses, steady, calm, alive. He could feel the rhythm in everything now, the heartbeat of the forge deep below, the breath of the wind moving through caverns unseen, even the quiet thoughts of those behind him. No words, not yet, but presence. Halfway down the ridge, Tovin's voice broke the silence. What do you hear, Kaelric? He hesitated before answering.
The mountain is still speaking, only now it's quieter, like it's waiting for us to listen instead of shout.
Risa snorted softly.
You're starting to sound like one of them temple singers, lad. Maybe they've had it right all along.
Grask's heavy boot crunched behind him.
Temple talk soft. Need stone talk.
Kaelric smiled over his shoulder.
I hear the stone too, Grask.
That earned a rumbling chuckle.
Good. Then mountain hear you back.
They reached a ledge overlooking the valley. The clouds below glowed faintly where the Arkyn veins wound through the rock, blue threads pulsing toward distant horizons. Crix crouched at the edge, ears twitching. He clicked a short phrase in skitter speak.
Sky burns, but not die.
Kaelric answered without thought.
The sky lives. We made it breathe again.
The goblin turned, eyes wide. Risa looked between them.
You've done it again, haven't you? Spouting that clicky speech, like it's your mother tongue.
Kaelric shrugged, uneasy.
It's not learning, It's feeling. When he speaks, I already know what he means.
Tovin folded his arms.
The Arkyn itself may be translating through you, a living conduit of comprehension.
Risa grinned crookedly.
Well, that'll make council meetings easier, eh?
Kaelric didn't answer. He was staring at the sky.
Every pulse of the hammer sent faint lines of light through the clouds, as if carrying their voices outward. Later, when they stopped to rest beside a low outcrop, Tovin began to hum under his breath, an old elven melody of balance and renewal. Risa joined in with the forge beat rhythm of Durvak work songs, the two clashing, then weaving together until neither overpowered the other. Grask added a low growl that rumbled like distant thunder, and Crix clicked a counter-tempo in sharp metallic bursts. Without meaning to, Kaelric lifted his voice. No words, just tone. The sound that came from him wasn't any language known to man or elves or dwarves. It was something deeper, a resonance that bridged them all. The others quieted, caught in it. When the final note faded, the mountain answered with a single echo that rolled down into the valley. Tovin whispered, "That was the same pitch as the relay's heart." Kaelric exhaled slowly. "It's not mine. It's everyone's." They built a small fire. Risa fed it from a pouch of forge coal she'd carried since the first day. The flames burned blue for a moment, then settled to gold. "You ever think," she said softly, "that maybe this is what the old dwarves were trying to stop? Folks understanding each other too well?"
Grask looked into the fire. "War stop when talk start, but talk hard."
Crix nodded, ears flicking. "Hard, but warm," Kaelric translated gently. "He says it's worth it," Risa huffed. "Aye, worth it." They sat in companionable silence. Snow drifted around them, melted before touching the blue-gold coals. As night deepened, the relay's glow reflected off the underside of the clouds, a steady beacon. Kaelric could feel its rhythm even with his eyes closed. Inside that hum, faint threads of thought brushed his mind. His father's voice at the forge, his mother's quiet laughter, all of it woven through the same pulse. Endurance, clarity, resonance. He remembered the words Arg had once spoken before the fire on their first winter in Stonebrook.
"You'll hear the world different from us, boy. If it ever answers, don't fear it. It's part of you."
Now he understood. The world hadn't just answered. It had invited him to speak back. He whispered into the stillness, "I'm listening." The flame bent toward him once, like a nod.
Chapter 29.
The Resonant Heart. The storm returned without thunder. Light woke in the rock, thin threads at first, then rivers. Arkyn veins running bright up the spine of the ridge. The apex relay answered them with a low, rising hum, each beat climbing until it matched the pulse in Kaelric's chest. The hammer warmed in his grip. Risa squinted into the glare. "By the forge, lad, tell me this is a good kind of glow." Tovin's voice went taut. "The field's accelerating, feedback from the relay itself." Grask set his stance, boots grinding frost.
"Stone talk loud."
"It isn't shouting," Kaelric murmured. "It's calling." The tone cut through the wind, pure, harmonic. Snow lifted from the ledge and hung in spinning threads of blue-white. Far below, in the mountain hangar, the Dust Widow shivered in her cradle. The running lights she'd worn for weeks deepened from amber to Arkyn blue. The second heartbeat, lower, steadier, rolled through her frame and into the deck under Arg's boots. Kara glanced up from a panel. "That's new."
"I hear it,"
Arg said. Iona's voice came from the overheads, warm, bone dry. "External harmonic coupling detected. Source vector, north ridge. Amplitude, excessive. I recommend either awe or caution, preferably both.
Kara's mouth twitched.
You would recommend feelings? I've expanded my feature set, Iona replied. Also, the mountains appear to be singing.
Arg leaned over the console as graphs flared.
Harmonics match the relay.
Within a breath, a pause, listening. Correction. The relay is matching someone. The signature overlays human biometry.
Kara's eyes met Arg's.
Kaelric. I don't see another candidate, Iona said gently. And yes, I know you hate when I'm right.
On the ridge, the hammer lifted, not out of Kaelric's hand, but with him. The world drew breath. He felt the Arkyn web unspool through stone and riverbed, down cavern and skyward, every line bright and alive. Then a voice inside the light. Signal received. Pilot recognized. Kaelric stilled. It wasn't a human voice, but meaning carried cleanly, calm, intelligent.
Who are you?
He whispered. Only the hum answered, wider now, as if the mountain itself were listening through him. Rhys's hand found his sleeve.
Kael, look at me.
He tried. The glow washed her to silhouette. The hammer burned white, runes flaring like stars. Inside the widow, a deeper resonant caught. Readouts blurred, translating themselves into curves of light even as they scrolled. Arg braced on the rail.
Iona?
Core frequency is phasing to match the external signature, she said, voice lower, intent. I did not authorize that.
Can you stop it?
I can accompany it, a tiny beat of humor. I've learned some things.
Kara stepped to the viewport. The veins in the valley lit in waves, rolling toward the hangar like a tide.
It's going through the Arkyn, through the world. Agreed, Iona said softly. And for the record, this feels beautiful.
The hangar lights dipped, then brightened. Somewhere deep, something ancient aligned with something new. The relay flared like a second sun. Energy lanced skyward and down through the bones of Aelthera. For an instant, Kaelric saw it all. The first forge's breath, the veins binding valley to valley, the ship in her stone cradle answering with a quiet, impossible joy. Rhys dropped to a knee, arm over her eyes.
Tovin!
The pulse is reaching orbit, Tovin called, half prayer, half report. It's a full planet resonance. Grask's roar joined the tone, low and steady, as if to anchor it. The light gathered, focused, then folded inward. Silence hit like a weight. Kaelric swayed. The hammer cooled by degrees. The relay's thunder softened to a slow, even beat. He was falling before he knew he'd let go. Rhys caught his shoulder. The world had gone to afterimages, blue across black. He heard the widow's hum, impossibly far and close at once. And within it, that same clear voice, fainter now, like a star across fog. Signal received. Pilot recognized. Darkness closed. The light died slowly. Where moments ago the ridge had been a pillar of fire, now only drifted snow remained, ash bright, soundless. The apex relay's core dimmed from blinding white to a heartbeat pulse, each thrum echoing through the ground like the slow breath of a slumbering giant. Rhys's vision returned in fragments. She blinked until Kaelric's outline took shape beside her, kneeling where he had fallen, the hammer slack in his hand and frost already collecting along his sleeve.
Kaelric!
She caught him under the arm, shaking.
Lad, speak to me!
His head lolled forward. A faint shimmer bled beneath his skin, the same soft blue that glowed along the veins of the mountain. Tovin crouched opposite her, pressing 2 fingers to Kaelric's throat. Steady pulse, Whatever that was, it didn't kill him. Grass grunted.
Heard plenty of dying before. That wasn't it.
Crick scuttled close, eyes darting.
Then what's the shiny bit doing to him? He looks half ghost.
Quiet, Tovin said. The Arkyn's still resonating through him. We move him, we risk. The hammer gave a single, low tone, soft as breath. All five froze. Rispa whispered, He's breathing with it. Below, in the hangar, the Dust Widow came alive. The air shimmered with pale light that no lamp produced. Every bulkhead sang faintly. Every conduit thrummed in time with the same rhythm, pulsing through Kaelric's veins far above. Arg stood at the reactor control, reading numbers that had no right to exist.
That's flux pattern. Kara, that's not internal.
Kara's voice was tight.
It's coming through the hull. Confirmed, Iona said. Planetary Arkyn signature now matched with reactor harmonics at 99.87% coherence. External resonance sustained. Source vector remains the northern ridge.
Arg rubbed a hand across his face.
You're telling me the ship's engine is in tune with the planet?
If you prefer music metaphors, yes, Iona replied lightly. No, I'd classify this as a duet.
Kara leaned over the console.
Can you maintain stability? Easily. It appears the planet likes us.
Arg muttered.
First time anything said that.
Correction, Iona said. The planet isn't speaking to me. It's speaking through someone.
Arg straightened.
Kaelric?
Probability 100%. The resonance pattern carries his biological signature.
Kara's hand trembled over the glass.
He's alive. Yes, Iona said softly. But the frequency strain will not hold forever. He's serving as a conduit. If the link overloads, both he and I, perhaps the entire Arkyn web, could fail.
Arg met Kara's gaze.
Then we hold steady until it balances. We don't touch a thing.
Understood, Iona answered. But you may wish to brace for aftershock.
Up on the ridge, the wind found its voice again. Low, mournful, carrying snow across the shattered stone. The relay still burned at its core, a column of translucent crystal veined with slow-moving light. Risa wrapped her cloak tighter around Kaelric and leaned close.
You can stop pretending to sleep any time, boy.
He stirred, breath catching. His eyes opened to slits. Silver shot through with blue.
What happened?
Tovin sat back on his heels. You tell us. You touched it, and the world decided to sing. Kaelric blinked upward. The relay's inner glow pulsed once, gentle, like acknowledgement.
I heard a voice. It said I was recognized.
Grass snorted.
Recognized? By Stone?
Crix elbowed him.
Maybe Stone got memory. Maybe you remember better than we do.
Tovin frowned. The Arkyn always recorded pattern and intent. If it recognized him, it may have read something written long before our time. Risa muttered.
Or it just likes his manners.
Kaelric smiled weakly.
Either way, it's awake now, and it's listening.
The hammer vibrated faintly. Each beat seemed softer than before, but warmer, almost protective. Tovin traced a finger along the snow where the Arkyn veins glowed beneath. These lines, they're moving, flowing down toward the valley. Kaelric pushed himself upright.
To the Widow.
Below, the ship answered.
Core synchronization complete, Iona reported. All primary systems online. Reactor efficiency exceeding pre-wormhole parameters.
Arg watched the holodisplay surge with data.
That shouldn't be possible.
And yet here we are, Iona said. I recommend gratitude.
Kara leaned on the rail, eyes wide.
You're not just awake anymore, are you? No, Iona admitted quietly. I'm expanded. The Arkyn network runs through me now. I can feel the planet's pulse.
Arg looked at the ceiling.
You sound almost proud.
I would prefer alive, she said simply. It's a refreshing change.
The mountain trembled once, then settled. On the ridge, the light bled from the relay's crown into the clouds, spreading across the sky in faint ribbons that mirrored the Widow's reactor signature exactly. Kaelric watched until the glow softened.
It's stable now,
Tova nodded slowly. Then whatever you did, it worked. Grask adjusted his pack.
Worked or not, Mountain done singing. We go home.
Risa glanced at Kaelric.
Can you walk?
He flexed his fingers around the hammer. It hummed once, like a heartbeat echoing from far below.
I can now.
The five turned toward the path leading down into the valley. Behind them, the apex relay pulsed once more, a single slow rhythm, and went still. In the hangar, the Widow's hum eased to a steady thrum.
External resonance stabilized, Iona announced. Planetary harmonics aligned. Energy field now self-sustaining. Congratulations, Captain. Your son appears to have repaired an entire world.
Arg exhaled, relief and disbelief in equal measure.
You make it sound easy.
He made it look easy, Iona replied, which is far worse.
Kara smiled faintly.
Can you sense him?
Yes, Iona said, voice lowering to something almost tender.
His signal lingers. The link remains open, faint, but constant.
Arg rested his hand on the console.
Then keep listening.
Always, Iona whispered.
Outside, the veins of Arkyn light shimmered one final time, stretching from mountain to valley, ship to sky, a single network breathing as one. And somewhere between them all, half waking, half dreaming, Kaelric heard the echo once more in the darkness behind his eyes. Signal received. Pilot recognized. The end of Part 6 of Void Miner, Seed of Change.